You've got a lot of data here. If you don't need to print off all of it, maybe just a selection of it, you can do it one of two ways. One way is to select the area and set the print area so it just prints that area. For example, maybe I just want to go ahead and select this range and print that. Before I print it, I can go ahead and say and set that area as the print area by coming up here, clicking on the Page Layout tab, going to the Page Setup group. There's the print area. Click on it to go ahead and set it. Click off in a blank area and you can see the little dashes that encircle that area. So when I go to File to Print, what you see here in the print preview is what you get when you click on the print button. That's one way. Or let me go back and click on the File tab. Takes me back to my normal view. Well, after I set the print area, if I need to go ahead and unset that because I want to print off everything else or a different part of the worksheet, go ahead and click on the print area drop down arrow and clear it. The other way is not even having to set the print area. You can just go ahead and click and drag and have a selection there. Then go to the File tab down to Print. Before I print it, I can go ahead and say instead of printing the active sheet or the entire workbook, how about just the selection? What I selected there. Click on it and you can see the selection is right there. What you see is what you get, again, when you hit the print button. In any case, I'll change that back to the active sheets. Now your print range can also include the print scaling. In other words, if I would like to include more width on my pages or more height, then come up here and click on the Page Layout tab. Let me click off in a blank area or in another cell so it doesn't have the range selected. Again, on the Page Layout tab to the Scale to Fit, we kind of went over this in the previous training video, but right now it's looking at the width and the height. It's automatic. In other words, it's going to be at the scale at 100%, so the font size right now is Arial, what is it? Size 10 will stay at the 100%, so back to my Page Layout tab. If I go ahead and I say that I want to include, let me click on the width, everything onto one page, when I select it, the page break will break after that and include all of the columns onto one page as far as the width goes. But having to do that, it has to scale it down or shrink the font size from size 10 to, I don't know, 9, 8.5, so it's at 81% the size of the font. You can test that or get a preview by, again, File to your Print Preview. When I come down here and I click to zoom in, the font is a lot smaller, okay? And you can see I've got, well, let me click on it again to zoom out, I've got 2 pages. It's not breaking off to page 3 and 4. If I came back up here to the page layout and say, well, let's just make it automatic, and it's still going to fit because it's at 81%, I want it back up to 100%. So when I go File to Print, I've got 4 pages because the font is at its regular size. It's not scaling down to fit onto 2 pages. When I said go ahead and try to fit all the columns, at least the width, onto one page. Of course, let me come back up here on the page layout. You can also adjust the height if you want to click on the drop down arrow and try to fit your rows, the height, onto page 1. That's going to be interesting. Now it's scaled it down even tinier, 70%, File to Print, and, well, it included not only all the rows, but boy, at the sacrifice of the size of the font, let me click to zoom in, it's even tinier, but let me click on it to zoom out. Because it's so tiny, it actually has more width as well. Let me go back up to Page Layout and go back to Automatic and wow, come back up in here and type in 100% and hit Enter on the keyboard. So we're back to normal. That takes a couple of clicks. The other option that you have is you can click on its expandable dialog box button for Scale to Fit. Brings up the page setup window. I mean, you could just close out and click on this expandable dialog box, still the page setup, or if you're in the File down to Print Preview, again, page setup. Brings it up. On the Page tab, you've got the option to fit right here everything that you've got onto one page. So fit one page wide by how many pages tall? Well, if I just want it on one page width, then I can go ahead and click OK. But if I want it as a 1 by 1, so if I have 50 pages and I want it all crammed into one page, oh, that's going to be annoying. It's going to make the font so tiny. I don't know if it can really do that to make it the font to a size of 1 or 2, but I haven't gone to those extremes. In any case, let me go back to Page Setup and let me adjust back to 100% to where it was, and then click OK. Or in the Print Preview, as you saw down here, when I was going back and forth, you can click on the drop-down arrow for scaling and say, hey, I'd like to fit the sheet on one page, or to fit all the columns on one page or all the rows. I mean, you've got many ways of doing this. This way is probably the quickest if you want it all on one page without having to mess with, let's first mess with the columns, see how many I can get, or See how small the font is or the rows? Just click on that. Collapses it all, fits it all in one page. And then I can click on the drop down arrow and say no scaling. And then click to zoom in. The font size is back to, well, size 10. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.